Good evening and welcome to Speech Day. In a few moments I will introduce our chief guest, Justice Chauhan, and invite the school captain to speak. As with 2020, we did get to start this school year in February with some pupils in school, although ultimately we were not able to conduct physical board exams. By degree, we were able to welcome back classes 5 to 12, and through the use of our bubble system, most of the boys of BCS were able to enjoy almost 3 months of the type of schooling that has been denied to most pupils in the country. The dorms became a community again, lessons happened in classrooms, and cricket was played on the games field. We did have a few cases of COVID, courtesy of the outgoing class 10s, but these were dealt with quickly and efficiently by the medical team, and all the cases were managed in school. Our staff bought into the vaccination process, and we became one of the first institutions in Himachal where all staff who were medically fit for their jabs took them. Since then, much has happened. The onslaught of the second wave in April and May had a devastating effect on thousands of families across India, and we were forced to go online again until August. Although the hostels never closed, and we always had a good number of boys in school. Since then, the impressive efforts of the government have ensured that over 1 billion jabs have been given. And whilst we're not yet out of the tunnel, there is a clear light at the end of it. There will be other waves of COVID, but it is an enemy that we understand better now, and we will defeat it. Just as 2021 has been an improvement on 2020, so 2022 will see much more normality. Since August, we've been able to teach class 8 to 12 in the classroom, and we're hopeful that for these classes and possibly for the younger classes, the year will end on a much more normal note with the return of the dreaded offline exam. Today we recognise that in many respects, and despite everything, time has not stood still, and our boys have been able to achieve a great deal. The board results of 2021 were probably the best on record, although this must be taken in the context of the special assessment arrangements for the pandemic. The average score in both class 10 and in class 12 was about 89%, which means the current batches are a match for any batch from the past. Our topper at class 10 was Nonida Sawhney, and in class 12 was Aftab Sidhu. Our outgoing class 12 boys, the batch of 2020, have travelled on to universities across India and the world, where their experience in boarding will no doubt hold them in good stead. Aftab and Tanmay Khandelwal are both now studying law at Durham University, one of the top 5 universities in the UK. As an outsider getting to know the Indian education system, I can tell you the academic quality of the best boys at BCS rank with any other schools in the world. Hopefully we will look back on the years 2020 and 2021 with nostalgia and conclude that too much of our lives was spent online. Certainly this had to be the case with 2 great features of BCS life, debating and participation in the Model United Nations, although we still entered various teams in various competitions. Fortunately, the inter-house debates were held at school, and we were able to enjoy once again the cut and thrust and the sometimes nerve-wracking nature of debating. In 2022, we should finally be able to celebrate the 25th birthday of our renowned Slater debates. We also haven't been able to play inter-school sport, but many of the house matches have highlighted the sporting talent within the school, and next year we'll be able to open up again. Highlights should include the delayed centenary match against our friends and rivals at Sanar, and we are also hopeful of an international cricket tour next June. In the last year, we introduced the 7 qualities that we want each of our students to develop, the Shimla 7. We want you all to be principled, motivated, reflective, curious, creative, resilient, and connected. This year has been the year of resilience, highlighted in different ways by those boys who spent the whole year in the hostels without seeing their parents, to those who've slogged away at home on their computers all alone. One of the delights of being back on the campus has been to hear the choir practicing, and our art workshop arranged by OC Manav Singh was an outstanding event enjoyed by all. Let's hope that normality lights up the fires of creativity, and even within the limitations of this year, we've already managed 2 treks into the fresh air and heartland of the magnificent state of Himachal Pradesh. I want to focus today on the idea that BCS students need to be connected. The threat of COVID essentially forced us all back into the most basic of units, our family, and the internet has provided a lifeline from that with the rest of the world. This is not normal. Human beings are social animals, and very few people prosper in isolation. We can now look forward to reconnecting physically with the rest of the world. If the COVID crisis is not dealt with in other countries and new variants develop, we can't move on. If we don't deal with climate change, then we will quickly face many challenges that are much more serious and devastating than COVID. These are international problems which need international solutions. The BCS community is also interconnected. To thrive, the pupils, the staff, the parents, and alumni must support each other. We're not an island. We must recognise our role in Shimla, in Himachal Pradesh, and within the modern India. Our school has been rocked this year because of the death of pillars of our community. Former head of the junior school, Mrs. Mustafi, teachers Rajneesh Chauhan and Asim Kakreti, and many loved old Cottonians, including perhaps the most respected of them all, Vibhadra Singh, Raja Sahib, and we remember them all in our hearts. I like to imagine sometimes that when one of our community dies, part of their spirit finds its way into one of the many hundreds, if not thousands, of trees that protect our campus and community, our cathedral of nature. These trees protect us on many levels, from the hustle and bustle and noise of the town centre, and more literally, as a life-giving producer of oxygen. They protect our boys from the realities of the real world until they are really ready to face them. But outside that forest, there are thousands of living, successful old Cottonians in every corner of the world who are only too willing to help and guide our students. And in the coming year, we'll be developing mentorship programs that will allow Class 11s to gain a real edge in the world of work, just as we have given them the chance to undertake coaching for competitive entrance exams. These will be serious work experience opportunities that will allow our students to understand what careers really involve and show any prospective employer why they should be considered above others. Now, one of those old Cottonians who's gone on to make his own indelible mark on society is Justice Taluk Singh Chauhan, an OC, a member of Ibbotson House and a former house captain, and also a former school captain. At school he was known as an accomplished boxer and a good marathon runner, which ticks both boxes for the fight or flight response. He has subsequently had an extremely successful and effective career in law, practicing in the courts of Himachal Pradesh. In 2014, he was appointed as a judge of the High Court. He is the chairperson of the Juvenile Justice Committee of HP. He's represented India at an international judicial conference, and he is the president of the HP Judicial Academy and the executive chairman of the HP State Legal Services Authority. He has delivered a number of landmark judgments and has decided upon more than 52,000 cases, a record for the state. We are indeed very lucky that he is here today, and after he has distributed the prizes, we look forward to his wise words. On behalf of the school, it's my privilege and pleasure to extend this vote of thanks to Justice Chauhan and his wife for gracing us with their presence today, and also for respecting the best practice of anyone, which is to keep the speech under 10 minutes for all concerned. Thank you so much. We're indeed fortunate to have such a role model. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Let's remember the key role that judges play in keeping India the great democratic example that it is, and we thank you very much for that. Thank you also for getting across that message that, and it's a phrase I heard recently, that failure is a bruise, it's not a tattoo. And when we come back from failure in our lives and we become stronger. I remember my first day at school, you were talking about yours, but my first day at primary school when I was 5, I started crying because I didn't want to leave my mother. When I was 11 and I went to senior school, I was determined that I wouldn't cry. I had to travel across London in my uniform on the underground, got through the school day, enjoyed it very much. Couldn't wait to get home, and as I walked from the train station in London, I was jumped on by three older boys from another school, and so I went home crying, so I didn't manage to not cry on that day either. So thank you again, thank you for gracing us with your presence.